Serving as the country's national food bank and largest food rescue network, Leket Israel works to alleviate the problem of nutritional insecurity among the growing numbers of Israel's poor. And each year, with the help of 40,000 volunteers, Leket Israel reclaims over 21 million pounds of produce and perishable goods and supplies over 1.25 million volunteer-prepared sandwiches for underprivileged kids. MacDonald has served with Leket for years and knows firsthand the impact that this ministry has among Israel's poor. Good to have you with us, Ray.
Hey, Stefan.
And so glad that you're here today to talk about Leket Israel. And when we hear the word Israel's poor, I think many of us don't kind of put those two words together, knowing that Israel is a prosperous nation in the Middle East. And tell us about the situation there regarding the poor and the plight of the poor.
No, that's right, Stefan. Definitely, when as Christians, when we think of Israel, there are a lot of there's a lot of imagery that comes to mind. We think constantly we're hearing about the threat from Iran, and security is such a major issue for Israelis. But there's a security that maybe doesn't come to mind, and that's nutritional security. Yeah, Christians are really startled to find out that Israel actually has a very high rate of poverty, double the poverty rate of America, but yet it is, comparatively speaking, a prosperous country. There's a high-tech boom, but there are many of Israeli citizens that are not being positively impacted by that.
Are the majority immigrants from Africa or Eastern Europe?
Yeah, there's a few sectors of the society that are extremely poor. The Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, they tend to have large families, and the father is perhaps busy studying Torah in yeshiva. There's North African Jews, Ethiopian Jews that are poor. Large segment of the Arab community as well. So we supply food to 300 nonprofits throughout the country that work with the poor. And basically anybody who's hungry, that's who we will supply food to. But I know your viewing audience, I know what they're thinking right now. They're thinking, Leket. How do you pronounce that? What does that mean? Leket Israel, what's that about? I'd just maybe take a moment to talk a little bit about that. Leket is a biblical word. It's a Hebrew word meaning to gather or to glean. There's a very important concept behind it, and as God said to Israel in Leviticus, you shall not glean all of your harvest. You're to leave the corners of your field for the widow, for the orphan. As well, we think of Ruth. This is a Gentile lady from Moab, comes to Israel. She said to her Jewish mother-in-law, your God will be my God, your people will be my people. And we think of Boaz instructing his men. Boaz was fairly wealthy, he had land. He said, allow her to go and leket. And do not embarrass her, he said. And that word embarrass is really important to me. And the concept of leket is that we who have are obligated, in fact, we're commanded to share with those who do not. They're not, Israelites who were hungry, they weren't to go pounding on doors, please, help me, I'm in need. So the idea that they retain their dignity is a key aspect. So what's really exciting about the work that we're doing, and what's exciting, the opportunity for Christians to participate in that ancient biblical command in modern Israel.
I want to go back to discuss the poverty. What are some of the reasons that they attribute to some of this poverty? Obviously, it's a diverse group. It's not just one particular group. Is it just the cost of living? Is it just high unemployment? Or there's just not enough jobs? Or, obviously there's not just one thing you can point to, but in such a modern nation, what do they attribute that to?
Yeah, I think something that we hear about even here in America is the growing discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots. The rich, getting richer and the poor getting poorer. It's certainly the case in Israel, where you have the lower middle class falling even down a bit further into poverty. And even poverty is kind of a relative thing. Different countries have a different gauge for what they consider to be poor. In Israel, if you're below the medium, if you take the high and the low and you kind of have it in the middle, if you're below the middle in income, you're considered poor. In a country like Japan, for an example, if you're below 60%, you're considered poor. But the employment rate in Israel is actually not that bad. But what you have is the working poor, where you have families where perhaps both parents are working, but they're still
sort of a cost of living.
Not enough to make ends meet. And even, a quarter of Israel's Holocaust survivors are living in poverty, where right now we're just talking before we went to air about the weather, that there's been a lot of snow and rain in Israel this year. So there are elderly where every month they have to decide, am I going to be able to pay for my heart medication that I need? Am I going to be able to pay for the heat in my apartment? Or am I going to
So how do they find you, or how do you find them? How do you distribute the food?
We have office staff that search for food suppliers. We have farms that donate acreage to us. We have over 40,000 people that volunteer for us annually.
What do the volunteers do?
Mostly gleaning in our fields.
So they actually go to the fields and glean from the edges.
Yep. Kind of the modern take on that is no longer the edges. Like we'll have a farm that will designate acres
a certain portion.
And perhaps they've had a really good crop in a particular year. They actually have more crop than what they can sell, or maybe the farmer simply wants to give. So we have a large number of Israelis that glean for us. We have Jews that tour the land from the United States, and growing numbers of Christians. That are touring the country and going to archaeological digs and whatnot. So taking an hour or two, stopping at our farm is really a welcome break in a typical tour. And Christians are really excited because they know not only are they getting out in the fresh air and maybe picking oranges, maybe something they've never done before, they know that they're helping Israelis in need.
Now, the Sandwich for Kids program, 1.25 million sandwiches over the course of 2011. How many volunteers does it take to do that?
Quite
a lot of sandwiches.
We produce about 7,500 meals for school
lunch
kids
meals
per day. And we're supplying over 100 schools. In around 30 different communities in Israel. So there's different places where
every day the volunteers come in
early in the morning. 7
get out the bread and whatever else might be going with it.
And I've been there and I've made some sandwiches and I've talked to the gals and the people that are making sandwiches. It's really a great feeling knowing that.
How much of the operation is staff and how much is volunteer? Obviously, the vast majority is going to be volunteers, but what kind of budget do you need to put all this together?
We have about 90 people on staff.
Okay.
Truck drivers, warehouse.
So 90 staff compared to 40,000 volunteers,
it's really exciting. And every time I go to Israel, I really like to get in there. And obviously, I'm there for meetings, but as well, I love to go on the truck, follow our truck driver, go out to a farm in the morning, glean produce, head for the warehouse, and pick up more produce, head back in the truck in the afternoon, go to a restaurant or a cafeteria, pick up hot meals that haven't been consumed, and then go and do the distribution, go to all kinds of different types of places, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, food banks. I remember once visiting a residential facility for autistic adults and just talking to the NGOs that we're supplying and just what it means to them
Yeah, to
be
have that resource.
receiving that food.
Yeah.
Because so many of them, it takes money to operate these facilities. So the food that we supply means that's money that they don't have to spend on food.
Right.
So really impact. But as well, visiting schools and talking to principals, talking to teachers that see the kids that eat meals, and there really are tragic stories, of kids that don't eat all of their meal.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they have a sibling at home that will be hungry, so they'll take part of their meal back home
To share it.
So, so even though we're providing 7,500 lunchtime meals for Israeli school kids, there are almost 900,000 Israeli school kids that are hungry right now. So we're just scratching the surface.
Well, thanks for joining us, Ray. And I want to encourage our friends, if you'd like to connect with Leket, they've got a video, a DVD here that they'll send to you to share more about Israel, Home of Hope, and the ministry of Leket. You can go to helpfeedisrael.com, or as always, you can go to harvest-tv.com, click on Show Info on the menu bar. You'll find an easy way to link back to the Leket site. We've got a lot coming up on Harvest today, so stay with us.